Hello guys, this is King Jakes. We're back with another reaction. This time capitalism and monopolies, how 5 companies control all US media. Alright, let's begin.
Vice, ESPN, and the History Channel. What do these 3 media outlets have in common? Despite their different target audiences, they're all owned by the same company, Disney. What about these 3? Same story. They're all owned by Comcast. If you were to pick a bunch of media operations from a hat, odds are the vast majority of them are owned and operated by one of just 5 megacorporations.
Yeah, it's a small clique, a small group of people, rich and amongst other things, own all your media.
Since the early 1980s, the number of media companies controlling the bulk of US media has shrunk from 50 to just 5. We've gone from a media landscape operated by a reasonable number of controlling interests to a reality dominated by near monopolies, just barely sneaking under the enforcement of antitrust laws. In this episode, we're going to talk about the consolidation of American media in the hands of a few ultra-powerful companies, and what that means in a time when the very wealthy have outsized influence over public policy. Before we begin, it's worth noting that corporate deals, acquisitions, and mergers happen all the time, often with little to no coverage. It's quite possible that by the time you watch this video, some of these data points will have changed. But unless something truly cataclysmic happens, the vast majority of US media will still be under the thumb of one or more of the 5 supercorporations we're about to discuss. So, without further ado, let's meet the Big 5. Comcast, Disney, National Amusements, News Corp, and AT&T, taking the spot from Time Warner, which it acquired in 2018 for $109 billion. You probably guessed that Disney was on the list, since they've had some seriously high-profile acquisitions in recent years, most notably Marvel and Lucasfilm. But I'd be surprised if you've ever heard of National Amusements or News Corp. These incredibly bland names and their lack of public-facing operations are intentional. Why draw attention to yourself as one of a tiny number of corporate behemoths when people only care about a select few of your properties? Whether you're watching CBS News, scrolling through GameSpot, or reading a book published by Simon & Schuster, you're padding the enormous wallet of National Amusements. And you'd never suspect that these 3 very different operations are run by the same company.
Everyone's like, ooh, AI, look at NVIDIA. Well, that is a surefire way of growing your income very slowly. So what is the best?
The
same goes for News Corp. They own National Geographic, Fox News, and HarperCollins. Altogether, the Big 5 are worth over $400 billion, controlling something like 90%.
That's ridiculous money, 400 billion. My days.
Of all US media, including news networks, Hollywood movie studios, and print publications, and they reach nearly 100% of all US households. And, fun fact, much of the remaining 10% is owned by only slightly less giant multi-billion-dollar corporations, like Sinclair, which, as you may remember, got itself into hot water by blasting out a propaganda broadcast over hundreds of local US news channels. So, how exactly are they allowed to do this? Surely having just 5 companies dominate the nation's media is considered monopolizing, right? Well, no, but just barely. Let's look at what it takes to be considered a monopoly. In order to be considered a pure monopoly, a single company has to have complete control over a market containing a good or service with no close substitutes.
It's already a monopoly, dude.
So, there you go. Since there are 5 large corporations that share the US media market, none of them qualify as a monopoly. But you don't have to be classified as a pure monopoly in order to wield monopolistic power. With such a massive concentration of wealth and power in the hands of so few, it all but ensures that smaller operations never have the chance to succeed. Unless you count the very American concept of success, which is building a company just large enough to get bought out by one of the big players. What we see in the US media landscape is more of an oligopoly, complete control spread across just a handful of powerful groups. There's so much interplay and deal-making within these 5 megacorporations that in effect, they are a monopoly in every sense but the legal one. For example, it's not uncommon to see one of the Big 5 hold a massive stake in a property owned by another of the Big 5. But if there were so many more media corporations as recently as the 1980s, how did we get to the dystopian, all-powerful corporate landscape we see today? To make a long story short, it all boils down to the passing of the 1996 Telecommunications Act. This piece of legislation was supposedly intended to deregulate the increasingly tangled broadcast and telecommunications markets, allowing anyone to enter and compete in the industry. Whatever the intended result was, the actual outcome was simply the rapid consolidation of power in the hands of fewer and fewer massive corporations. In the 2003 edition of Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, he notes, "The Telecommunications Act of 1996 enabled the handful of corporations dominating the airwaves to expand their power further. Mergers enabled tighter control of information." He was right, and it only got worse. The decade before the Telecommunications Act, 50 companies controlled the majority of the media landscape. By 1992, that number had fallen by 50%, and after the passage of the new TV and broadcast legislation, the number quickly shrank even further, to just 6 in the year 2000, and that's roughly where it stayed to this day. Not because these giant companies wouldn't love to own more of the market, but because they physically can't without triggering antitrust lawsuits. To put in perspective just how much of the market the Big Five control, let's have a look at some of the media operations they own. We'll start with News Corp. Rupert Murdoch's empire owns Fox, including all of its branches like Fox Sports and 20th Century Fox. It owns FX, GQ, The Wall Street Journal, Sky News, HarperCollins Publishing, The New York Post, National Geographic, Zondervan, MarketWatch, and countless others. National Amusements owns CBS and its branches. It owns Paramount, Nickelodeon, MTV, BET, GameSpot, VH1, Comedy Central, The Smithsonian Channel, Spike, Showtime, Simon & Schuster, Game FAQs, CNET, and Viacom, once a major player in the media world itself before being consumed. AT&T, the newest member of the Big Five after acquiring the massive Time Warner, controls CNN, HBO, Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers, DC, TBS, truTV, Cinemax, TNT, Adult Swim, part of Hulu, Turner Classic Movies, Time Magazine, Rocksteady Games, and Time Warner Cable, to name just a few. Comcast, which has a well-deserved reputation as a thoroughly evil corporation, owns NBC, MSNBC, USA Network, Sci-Fi, Fandango, Universal Pictures, Focus Features, Working Title Films, Rotten Tomatoes, Bravo, Oxygen, Big Idea, part of Hulu, MLB Network, NHL Network, and dozens of internet ventures.
Are you looking to apply to study at Oxford or Cambridge? Not sure where to start? Then Oxbridge Mind.
And finally, everyone's favorite family-friendly...
Dude, they've got this all sewn up, man. Complete monopoly.
Corporate overlord, Disney. Disney owns ABC, Pixar, DreamWorks, ESPN, Lifetime, The History Channel, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Hollywood Records, Touchstone Pictures, Vice, plus a giant swath of the comic book industry thanks to their acquisition of Marvel. And of course, these are only a small sample of the media operations owned by the Big Five. Odds are, if you can think of a network you watch, you'll find it's owned by one of them. The one main exception you may have noticed is Netflix. Netflix, while not outright owned by any of the Big Five, is owned in part by a number of large interests, some of them very shady, like the well-known BlackRock, the world's largest shadow bank. So really, no matter what your network preferences, you're only being offered the illusion of choice. In reality, almost everything we watch or read, whether on TV, online, in theaters, or on the pages of a book, newspaper, or magazine, is just a tentacle of the enormous kraken that is the corporate media landscape. No matter what perspectives these outlets offer, remember that they're all owned by the same ultra-wealthy business interests, and they have their own agenda. The Big Five own all the major news networks, and the messages they put out are designed to reinforce the status quo, peddling minor aesthetic disagreements and diverting attention away from serious societal problems. This is simply the natural conclusion of the hyper-capitalist system we have in the United States. Powerful companies will grow larger and larger, consuming smaller companies that can't compete, acquiring more and more properties until they've reached the very limit of what could be considered legal, thereby dodging antitrust laws and maintaining the maximum amount of power, profit, and cultural significance. And this is only one area of the American market. Every other aspect of American life is becoming similarly consolidated, from pharmaceuticals to energy to manufacturing. The threat of the
And housing as well. Housing.
monopolization of every area of modern life is real, and its consequences could be disastrous and far-reaching, except for those pulling the strings at the very top. If you've watched my last few videos, you'll have noticed that YouTube has been demonetizing a lot of them. That's why some of my creator friends and I teamed up to build Nebula, a streaming platform.
Okay, I think we're done now. Yeah, that was a good one. A small group of individuals have control over your media. Ain't that the truth? Let's check the comments section. I feel this is going to be a good one. Alright. It's not a dictatorship if 1.1% control everything. only when it's under 1%. Legal loopholes. It's important to know that this isn't just media. Every industry is like this. All the food in the supermarket is owned by a few companies. Yeah. We may not have state-run media, but we have a media-run state. Seriously, the fact that corporate lobbying is still legal makes for economic authoritarianism. United States isn't a country. It's just three corporations in a trench coat. Someone on the internet. Gives the illusion of choice. Good quote. Power doesn't draw corruption. Corrupted people are drawn to power. Someone with common sense. And still Americans think they live in a democracy. What a joke. He controls the message, controls the masses. I'd like to make a browser plugin that tells people which corporations on the website you're on, but I don't have the coding ability to do that yet. I'm doing my college essay on the media controlling public opinion. I'm here. I'm now leaving a comment to hopefully get someone's recommendation. At this point, they function as monopolies. It just doesn't fit the definition of monopoly created decades ago. I remember something about a guy that tried to open an internet company and being shut down by Verizon, AT&T and Spectrum for trying to steal clients. Imagine owning Nat Geo, Fox News at the same time. They're actively trying to destroy each other. The complete gap between media and reality is sometimes terrifying. Books like Manufacturing Consent really show you how warped people's worldviews are from the facts by companies. Every single upload, I'm like, wow, this is the best educational video I've seen on this platform. Okay. Okay, that was a good one. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Yeah, I was just digesting the video. It's pretty good, good stuff. I'd like to know. Look at the CEOs of each company. Who are they? I might do that now, actually. Let's go back a bit. I just want the image. I don't think I can find it. Hold on. Let's do it now. Let's do it here. Who owns Comcast? That's the big American one. They even have. They even own some British companies. Let's do Wikipedia. That's a good one. Go Wikipedia. Comcast. There we go. Comcast. Philadelphia. It's the fourth largest telecommunications company. Okay. Key people. Who's the CEO? They must have a CEO though. There we go. CEO Brian L. Roberts was born. How peculiar. Okay, that's one. Okay. Sorry, I'm a bit of a boomer. So he's of that religion. Okay. What's another one? Hold on. Let's see. I need to find the picture, man. It tells you all the big ones. Okay. Where is it? Come on. Here we go. News Corp. Let's do News Corp now. News Corp. News Corp. Key people. Robert Murdoch. He owns Sky News as well, and Fox News, I believe. Okay. Am I the only one that feels that this might have been edited? He's of English, Irish, Scottish, his parents were born in Melbourne. War correspondent. So, yeah, what's the dude's religion? Must have a religion. an easy way. Let's be a bit more direct. What is Robert Murdoch religion? Oh, he's a Christian. Oh, really? He's an Anglican. Oh, okay. I feel like that's changed. Wasn't he something else? Okay. What's another one? Hold on. Let me bring this back a bit. There we go. That's the one I wanted. CNN. Let's do CNN. Wikipedia. CNN. Okay. Dude, I feel like this has been edited because I remember back in the day you could look, most of the people that ran the company were of one religion, let's be honest. Robert Murdoch owns that. Let's do History Channel. History Channel. History Channel. Yeah, who owns it though? Owner. A&E Global. Key people. President. They don't have a thing. They won't let me click on it. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not going to keep doing this, but yeah. Yeah, you get the point. Just look into who owns your companies, dude. Who are you giving your money to? That's what I would say. You'll tend to find out that it's a small group of people. It's the same with banks as well. Most of the banking corporations are owned by a small group of people. And yeah, it's rigged. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's all rigged. So yeah. Alright guys, comment down below what you think. Let me know. Do you believe there's a certain theory or something about the US media or media in general? Yeah. Comment down below what you think and what are your thoughts on that, on massive corporations owning a monopoly on media. Alright, okay, I'm King Jakes. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.